There's no way that we're going to do this whole outline. I do have some outlines. If you had to pick one up, you get one afterwards. Up here, I went ahead and made a few for it, and sorry I didn't get in those packets. I probably should have had it done, but that wasn't a requirement, so I didn't get it done, but I did bring a few. So anyway, there's no way we're going to get this all done, I don't think. I mean, I'll try to go run through these things as quickly as I can, and we'll see where we get to. But I can tell you that in my opinion, being a former catcher, I certainly have a passion for the position. And I think there's, in my opinion, there's no greater position on the field than catcher. And it's also, I don't know anymore that it's as overlooked as it probably once was, and I'm talking about not just pure calling a game or blocking drills and so forth. I'm going back to when I was in high school. But, you know, there's so much more about the position than really any other position on the field as far as the different types of things that you have to do. That it's really, you need to take some time with the catchers and really develop their game, and in particular, their job in controlling the game. I don't know that you have to be controlling the game. I don't know that's ever really possible. I think that's the way it, at some point in time, that's the way it was brought up. But being a field general, for sure, is what you're trying to focus and what you're trying to get out of them beyond one major factor. What's the most important thing a catcher does? Catch the ball. That's right. Catch or not fetch or. So we, that's always I always tell my kids that come to our clinics, they're not a fetcher, they're a catcher, and that's why it's number one. So we can talk about receiving the ball. We will in just a second of what the importance of that is. But that's their number one goal, and probably number two, besides dealing with the pitcher, handling the pitcher, is being a field general and understanding the game. So, knowing the game. Okay? Got to be an effective communicator, okay? From a team perspective, they got to be a positive informer, okay? We're going to have times, I think it's really difficult for some reason on the female side of it. Again, if you've been here, again, there's a difference, okay, as far as not necessarily what games are played per se, but as far as dealing with the female athlete, it's good for them to continue to be a positive factor within their teams and not allow them to be that bearer of bad news. That should be your duty. Okay, so allow catchers to be positive, allow them to be informative. Okay, pass some of the things that that you want told to your infield. Pass them through the catcher. Okay, give that two things. You're empowering the catcher. Okay, to take control and be a leader. You're also creating the illusion sometimes that the catcher knows what she's talking about, even though it's going through you. And the other thing about that is that you got to make sure that what the catcher's telling them is what you're trying to communicate through your team. But obviously, when you're doing that, you don't want to take something that's, you know, earth-shattering, game-winning, game-on-the-line type of information. You will call a timeout and do that yourself. But as far as passing that along, I really like to have the catchers involved. Make sure that they're knowing the game and let them be that positive influence and be informative from behind the plate. And they have to have an understanding of mechanics of just about every position. I'm not saying exact footwork, but they have to have an understanding and the capabilities of what an outfielder can do as far as hitting a cutoff, as opposed to what an infielder can do making a play on the run or so forth. So they have to know not necessarily the pure mechanics, but they have to know the mechanics of what their team looks like and how that works in the framework of a game. Okay? So that way they can communicate from behind the plate and say, you know, Sally can't make that throw, I got to hold her up. Hold the throw, hold, you know, whatever it is. So they've got to understand that and understand how it works. One of the plays that we have such a difficult time in the communication department with, I can't remember as I go along, I don't think it's in here, so we're going to talk about it here. But in particular, well actually it's in the next one, or one of the next ones. Let me get the situations. But as we get to talking about understanding a ball that's runner on second, okay, and having them to communicate where the ball needs to be thrown to, okay, on a base hit. All right? How many times do we see it? All the time. Base hit gets through. Outfielder, catcher doesn't say anything. She's saying 4-4-4, have no shot at the plate. Runner, batter, runner goes to second base. We put a runner in scoring position. That happens all the time. It's probably not worked on enough. It's probably one of the biggest flaws we do from a defensive standpoint is the throw going past the cutoff, going all the way to the plate, not having a play, and allowing that runner to move up. So two of that, it's a two-part deal, obviously. We've got to have a smart person that's going to be taking the cut in that situation. But the catcher, as a field general, has to understand we can't let that run. We can't get that runner into play. We've got to keep the batter runner at first on that. And it's their communication that gets that started. Okay, talking to their cutoffs. The thing, as I've talked about before, I can't remember if I was talking in this group or not, but I think I was talking actually at lunch with somebody about this. It's difficult sometimes. The catcher is communicating things that they know that needs to happen, okay? Maybe a change in the play. Okay, kid falls down, go ahead and bring it home. You know, there's somebody slower runner, we're going to try to get over the plate or hold it up. Well, one of the problems that we have is sometimes, and I used to say this with our teams, because I don't think, in my personal opinion, that the female athletes are watching the game. Girls just don't watch the game. If you look at the ESPN numbers, okay, of who's watching softball on ESPN, the lowest rated group of watching ESPN by their ratings are females. Okay, so it just tells you that, and probably the females in this room do, but there's a lot of them that don't, okay? But the bottom line is, what happens is because they don't watch the game, that they don't learn it from that perspective, and I think boys are even as bad these days, okay? When I was growing up, younger, we had 3 channels, and one of them was fuzzy, okay? And so I got to watch Channel Set, or CBS, and NBC, and ABC. If it was a good day, we could get it out of Lynchburg. And I grew up in Blacksburg. We could get Bluefield, but it was just another channel NBC station, so it didn't make a difference. The other 2 came out of Roanoke. So the only time we really watched, Channel 7 at that time really didn't cover unless they had World Series. It was Channel 10, it was Tony Kubek and whoever was doing the game of the week on NBC, generally. But we used to still, even at that point in time, with AM radios, we'd still listen to some games on the radio. And when you're doing that, if you ever watch or listen to a game on the radio, how many times have you, in thinking about the game, I think it's great for catchers to understand this, as far as understanding the games and the mechanics of it, is you're drawing a picture in your mind when you're listening to the radio, right? You know, you're seeing that, you know, you've seen them on TV, well, at least when I was, you know, you can see them every now and then. You would see Willie Starkey was mild, you know. I can see Willie flipping the bat around, right? All right, so I can see this. If I have to be listening to on the radio or whatever, then I can see that Willie Starkey will look at the plate or whatever. But as the play develops, I'm also, my mind's seeing Willie run to first base and whoever would be on base, Clemente or somebody, round to third. You can almost see these plays developing, okay? And I was very young, by the way, when Clemente was playing. I don't remember that. But anyway, that's the name I brought up. And but I think it's critical for them to understand and see the game, okay, and know the game. I think even at some point I'm going to talk about the Voorhees effect, and even if I don't, I'm going to mention it right now, because I don't think I've got it on here. I've got it on another one that I do. But the Voorhees effect, I always say, is a girl that played for me by the name of Amy Voorhees. And Amy was from the West Coast. She's a Mariners fan. Okay, and if you stay up late enough at night, you know, the games that you get to see on ESPN or some of those later channels, or you watch the Mariners, the Dodgers, the Giants, it's all those West Coast games, right? So she was a Mariners fan. She got to see a lot of the Mariners games on the ESPN or whatever late at night, and she would make sure to do that, or even watch them on a computer maybe at that point in time. I don't know if they were all on the computer or not. But she watched the game. She was a coach on the field, and she knew the game. She watched it, you know, from that standpoint. And I always say, you know, encourage your players. There's more softball on TV now than ever. There's going to be 50 plus games. Okay, this is the largest number, more than double than last year's number. 50 plus games of regular season ball on the ESPN flagships this year. So exciting time to be a part of our game. Okay, so allow your catchers to watch it. Even if you want to give them a little homework, have them write out the little play-by-play and kind of, you know, how would you do this differently? You know, if you thought there was a mistake made, how would you do it differently? Have them learn the game a little bit. Don't drain them with that kind of stuff. But out of the blue, for the first little project, they'll think that's pretty cool, and they'll go ahead and do it, you know, maybe once or twice for you. Okay, there's going to be more games. If not, it's a baseball game. Okay, I will say that two of our regular season games are going to be on TV. When we play Florida State April 20th, it's a noon game, and then the following Monday night, we have the Monday night slot where we play UVA in Charlottesville on ESPNU, I think. So you'll get to see us play, but there's obviously 50 games you're going to be covering: SEC, ACC, maybe not as many Big Tens because they have their own network, but I think Pac-12 and Big 12 is also on there. So have that as kind of a homework, you know, for your catchers and learning their positions. Knowing the pitchers, okay? What do the pitchers throw? What's their get-ahead pitch? What's their go-to? What do you like to see? What's the pattern that you're trying to avoid? What's the pattern we're looking for to do? Being a psychologist to a degree,